that same technology itself, because although you may not be shipping letters and packages the way you once did, we think that there's an interesting opportunity for you to take advantage of your long-standing and efficient operations to ship these devices at the end of their lives to a recycling center or refurbishment center. And my colleagues are going to talk about that after I just say, in terms of e-waste, there are so many electronic devices that are out there, and when they're no longer used by consumers, many of them are just left in drawers or forgotten about. And that's bad for two reasons, not only some environmental aspects, but also because there is value within the devices themselves. And we think that you can help vendors and recycling centers realize that value by acting as a conduit between them. And Orr and Emily are going to run through that.
Thank you, Ed. So with any business plan, it's really important to analyze the internal and external environment, and we did just that with the SWOT analysis. As you can see, the strengths and opportunities really outweighed the weaknesses and threats here, and that's something we really want to focus on. So one main strength of yours is the already existing capital that you have to use in this operation. So you already have eco-friendly packaging, you already have transportation, employees, customers, and that's all really important. And even more, you already have brand recognition. So in any new market, this is a huge advantage when entering it. You already have a well-known brand with trusted consumers. Consumers trust your brand. Even more, you have very large shipping capacity, and this will limit your overhead, costs for expansion. And this is a key component in revenue and cost-benefit analysis. And with that, your green vehicles, as we found out in the interview, all of your fleet is now green, and that's really going to tie into the sustainability initiative. But of course, there are always weaknesses. As I mentioned, the shipping capacity in a strength, it's also a weakness because we're limited to the shipping capacities. And with that, declining revenues, as Ed mentioned, these together will limit the short-term expansion capabilities, but we're not too worried about that.
So what are we actually seeing in this column of opportunities? We're seeing a market, and then we're seeing a window of opportunities. The market is created by a supply of people who are buying more phones and more computers. And they're replacing it in a faster and faster rate. The demand is recyclers that are seeking e-waste. They know how to make profit off of it, and they keep on inventing new ways to make it. And in the middle, we have the actual window, the vendors. They're looking for people to collect the product and ship it. And they're looking for two things. They're looking to save money while doing it, and they're looking to create more customers, enlarge the circle of people who are using it. You are the right company at the right time. What you have is two things. You are located everywhere in the United States, what means that you can have more people get into that cycle. And secondly, you can save costs because you're already there. We have one problem though, and that's the threat. Private competitors, private companies are already in the market. Their foot is in the door and they're ready to utilize it. They already have a big share of it. That means that you need to do two things. A, get fast into the competition. B, get wide. And what we've created, and we're going to show you, is a business plan that's both simple and cost effective. That way you can implement it and do it fast and get your share of the profit.
So what we're really trying to drive here, backward. Thank you, is to think outside of the box, literally outside of the box, and we will show you what we mean by that. So our implementation plan, how should this e-waste program really operate? Well, our business plan focuses on two things, efficiency and awareness. We realize that the operations, the main focus here is revenue. We want a program that has good revenue raising capabilities, but also the sustainability initiative. We want to raise awareness. We want the internal and the external to come together. We want our customers to know all of these internal initiatives that you guys have been taking. So how does this all work? The consumer and the vendor will communicate and share information based on what devices they want recycled. They will provide all this information to the vendors the style of the devices, the age, how old is the afterlife, the condition, the location. All of this will be then provided to us. And this is our key component, is this unique barcode that we will create. And this is key for efficiency. This will provide a fluid and efficient separation process of the devices. So we're really cutting out time and money that the vendors do not have to spend. These unique barcodes are then placed on easy waste envelopes. And these are really neat because the consumers have the option to drop them off at your locations, or with your already in place transportation services, you will pick them up. And that leads to the final stage of recycling, and the vendor then has the option to refurbish, reuse, or recycle. And that's really key component, is the vendor is saving a lot of money.
So as we already said, we see this cost-effective, quick way to implement. But we have this blue circle, says awareness on it. And what we're seeing as awareness is two things. A, it's a simple plan. People will use it. They already know us. They already know you. You have yourself running in it. And it will only expand as people see it as a simple thing to use. And second, it's an added value. Because what we're doing is recycling. We're branding US Mail as a big donator for the recycling industry. And so this awareness circle is basically saying we're adding an added value. We're doing things greener. And this is great for the US Mail.
Now, obviously, one of the big questions on your mind is, how much is this going to cost? How much revenue can this generate for you? It's actually a lot simpler than you think. You already have the infrastructure in place. You already have green vehicles that are more efficient than others on the market. You ship cheaper than anyone else. You can do that. You can, in fact, increase your profit margins significantly. With minimal cost to vendors, you will still be a competitor in the market on a per unit price. Now, looking at the overall market, we've taken a couple numbers. We've looked and see recent market trends to see what products are selling more, what are selling less, and we're also looking at end-of-life cycles. Over the last 5 years and into the next 5 years, we are seeing significant increases in generation for certain technology and less than others, but we believe this is a strength for you, depending on the amount of the market that you can penetrate. And we believe that is a significant amount based on your attachment to consumers, ease of access. You have easier access to them than any of your competitors. Also, because of this increased regulation and because of what we believe are going to be the most integral component of this, your strong ties with your vendors, you can see significant margins within the next 5 years. Up to 50% of the market, you're looking at over $800 million of net revenue, accounting for cost net revenue. Now, as your motto says, neither precipitation A nor precipitation B will keep you from fulfilling your mission. We agree that there are always going to be challenges. And we appreciate that you recognize there will always be challenges, but we also recognize you are all prepared to overcome every one of those. Now, 3 challenges that we identify in particular. Obviously, first and foremost, we need to work with our vendor. You need to work with your vendors to make sure that this process works seamlessly. We believe that you can get the information from them through this unique barcode that we will contribute, and make sure that every device that you collect for your vendors will always end up where it needs to go. Second challenge, obviously, it's going to be the market. This is an increasingly competitive market. You're already quite well aware that the shipping market in general already has competition, and with the burgeoning e-waste market, because of more consumer products, more interest in being green, and more regulation, you are going to see a burgeoning market. But again, we believe you are in a unique position. You have more market penetration than anyone else. You are able to really take reins on this entire market. Finally, you're going to see a decline in the production of desktops and laptops, which means there's going to be less of a market for all of those to be e-waste distributed. We understand this, but the most important thing of all is that the market is not shrinking for mobile devices. In fact, there is mobile technology that we are likely unaware of yet that's going to be entering this market. There's going to be no shortage. We believe it's going to grow, but with your due diligence and your attention to making sure that you're committed to this mission, we believe that you will be a player in this market, in fact, leading this market for years to come.
Thanks, Tom. We feel there's just tremendous opportunity here, and when we looked at the problem, we really wanted to concentrate on what your agency has always done and done well. Our proposal just feeds off of your ability to collect and ship packages, and we want to do that now within the e-waste market. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Can you, first of all, nice job. Thank you. Can you explain to me, I love the numbers, $813 million net revenue by attaining 50% of the market share. But the slide before that, or two before that, you said that there was a very challenging market arena, back up to the blue dot awareness slide. So we have to get into that market, but we project a 50% market share, which is obviously very healthy. Can you explain the vendor side of the equation or the barcode side of the equation a little more as to how that's going to help us penetrate that market to 50%?
Absolutely. As you can see at the end, we have 3 recycling centers. It's up to the vendor to decide what they want to do with that device. Now, of course, you may be viewing this as a recycling center that simply is the same concept as how a consumer currently recycles anything. But part of recycling is reusing. That vendor may actually want to obtain a very usable cell phone and sell it in another market, refurbish it, sell it again. This is an incentive for that vendor to actually buy into this with US mail. They will partner with you because they recognize, yes, it costs them some money to recycle these devices, but you're in fact actually helping them penetrate other markets here and beyond.
So when you say, so when you say that you're going to capture 50% of the market, do you mean 50% of the market that the vendors currently serve, or 50% of the e-waste market as a whole, in terms of somebody putting the recycling in their cell phone and recycling?
50% of the residential market for vendors.
So the model then is that the person at home will use the unique barcode identifier to say if this is garbage, gonna get recycled, or high value, or whatever. So the home consumer makes that assessment, and then it goes through your process, and then industry can either buy it back or you take the pieces out, or how?
We're going to make the process more geared towards the vendor. So in advance, we work with the vendors to identify which models to them have value and which don't. Because remember, in half of the states now in America, vendors are required to establish their own recycling processes. That's very expensive for them to set up an actual shop or to maintain shipping rates of their own. We think you guys can do that for them better, just in terms of the shipping. But at the end of life, there's an opportunity for value. So what we envision is a system that would allow a consumer to go on and say, I'm recycling my Samsung phone. Samsung says to themselves, okay, this phone has $10 worth of value for me. I don't even want to ship it to a refurbishment site. I just want to ship it to a recycling center. So our smart package will have all that information based on the particular vendor and the type of phone that the consumer indicates they're refurbishing or recycling. If there was a newer phone that had better technology or more potential value, the vendor can know in advance, okay, we want to save that phone and we want to ship it not to a recycling center, but to our refurbishment partner. And then all of that would be tracked within a system that we're going to have, you're going to have to work very closely with the vendors as part of your sales pitch to them as to how you're providing a service. But we think it's value on 2 fronts to the vendor, not only helping them to reduce their own recycling costs, but also to obtain greater value in the end-of-life cell phone and computer markets.
So how
consumer get the barcode for the product?
Well, it would be, we were envisioning either, if they do it at their home, they can go on, answer a couple of questions, and schedule a pickup. And they could print out a label, much like Amazon would or some other online companies, and they would put it on to a package that they already have, or they can request a eco-friendly package from us. That information would be printed, sealed, and given to one of your carriers, or conversely, if they prefer, there can be drop-off bins within your offices throughout the country, whatever is easiest for the consumer. Now, I think one question that we had for management was consumer incentives. We understand that's not something that your agency is interested in doing. You want to focus entirely on the shipment. But I think a question for the vendors is, especially considering that these phones keep value even after they're no longer being used, what incentives they may be willing to offer consumers to actually get them to the website in the first place.
And the $813 million is post-system implementation. We would implement the system that works with the vendor community, and then we would still derive that profit.
Yes, and understandably so. The reason we gave several different numbers, just to give you an idea of what potential you do have. 50% obviously is very aspirational, but we do believe that you are in a better position than your competitors to actually achieve significant market penetration.
And you already have existing online systems that allow customers who want to, have purchase electronic postage and, print it out either on their own machines or whatever else to be able to do it. There might have to be some tweaking, but we don't think that there are any large technological hurdles here.
Great, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Thank you
Great
very
job.
much.
Thank you.